Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. I know it's kind of yucky out there, and it was really short notice and kind of confused when it would be, and sadness sometimes happen, and that's part of what caused all of this. So that's why it's also called Come Hell or High Water. There is a story behind that, and I think most of you know it. Thanks for coming. I want to pay special thanks to the library board and to the Sutherland Ruritan for helping to sponsor this. I don't want to call anybody out in case I forget somebody, but I know Connie was a huge help, Margaret was a huge help, Tisha gave in, and Nancy, you were tremendous. Thank you. If I forgot someone, I thank you too. It took a lot of quick work, and these are the people that made it happen, so thank you very much. Now, this would not have happened, for those of you that understand the Come Hell or High Water, this event would not have happened without the 4 candidates for supervisor. They saw Come Hell or High Water, and they know where it came from, and because they were willing to rearrange their life for a night, that's why this happened. So please ask them good questions. Make this worthwhile. The restrooms are down the hall, right over there. If you need to go, please feel free to get up and do what you need to do. Get cookies, get coffee, get refills. Please be comfortable, but please ask questions. With that said, I'm going to hand the microphone over. I'm going to start here. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to just tell you about themselves, the position they're hoping to have, whatever they'd like you to know. When that's done, we will open the floor up, the questions up to all of you who came with questions or comments. Please ask or say whatever you have to say, but do it respectfully.
Welcome everyone. Dan Frederickson. I live just east of Sutherland here. I represent District 5 as supervisor. I've been on the Board of Supervisors since January 2nd of 2013. I have my wife of 33 years, Kathy. She's at a ball game for my youngest daughter, and then also my other daughter's there. I have a 16-year-old daughter, Anna, 20-year-old daughter, Lily, she'll be going to BV this fall, and a 23-year-old son, Will, who works for 10 Corps out of Marcus. Pretty good family, actually. I really don't have much for complaints. With the supervisor board, I sit on a bunch of committees. I'm chairman of Early Childhood of Iowa. I sit on DCAT committee. I am vice chair of RIDES. I scheduled to be chair at the beginning of the next calendar year. I'm just about done with chairman of Northwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund. And then various other committees we sit on, courthouse, county farm, different things like that. We don't really meet for them unless necessary. They have an issue that comes up that we need to. So I really would appreciate your vote for Board of Supervisors again. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. My name is Dennis Vanderhall. I'm from Sheldon, lifelong Bryan County resident. I have kind of a diverse background. I lived in Primgar for a while, lived in Archer for a while, a rural Archer on the farm for a while in Sheldon, and I farmed with 3 brothers, and we kind of share our stuff a little bit together, and Jerry, Glenn, and Don. That's why my signs all say Dennis Vanderhall. And I'm a small business owner, Highmark Express Incorporated Trucks, and with another guy from Sheldon, and also a property owner in Sheldon and Archer. So, and my wife Carmen for 22 years over here, and she works at Deluxe Feeds, Kent Feeds in the office, and have an 18-year-old daughter, Alexa, who's a senior, just graduated, and she's going to be attending Brookings, and son Drew, 14, he's going to be a freshman, so we're looking for cars for him. So. He's going to take the driver's training. was an officer in Archer Betterment Club and served on church consistory, former EMT, worked under Tom with the Archer Ambulance for a couple of years. I worked for the secondary road crew at Earl Snowplow one winter when somebody got hurt or something one winter, and he stuck me in a plow and said, "Here, go find the road." What's that?
Twice I was.
Okay, and I'm as 4th District Supervisor. I will be dedicated to representing all of Bryan County, not just the district that I'm working with. Also, I have another different branches in my family tree. I have a son David in Sioux Falls, son Chad who's in the Army in Clarksville, Tennessee, and a son Craig who's in Wesley, Iowa. South Shores.
All right, hello, I'm Rachel Becker. Wow, that's better. I just project. It's easy. My name's Rachel Becker. I'm running for the county attorney position. I live in Sheldon, Iowa with my husband, Ryan Becker, and our 2 children, Eli and Evie. I hold do various things within the community there as well, such as being involved with Rise Board. I'm on the Rise Board and Rise Fest, where I run the youth tents there. I'm also involved with our youth group within our church at the United Methodist Church. And I'm involved with Tri-T, which sends young girls to camp. So I'm very involved with the youth and young people in the community. And as you can probably tell by my accent, I'm not from around here. I'm a transplant from South Georgia, so your winters are really cold. However, I've really enjoyed being in Northwest Iowa. I really feel like it reminds me a lot of the South too, and the hospitality that people show in the community that Bryan County has, I think, as a whole too. And just so you know a little bit about my background and history too, I did grow up on a farm, so I'm used to being involved in an agrarian community. My father was a farmer. We raised dairy cattle, and he was also my ag teacher. And the way I ended up in the Midwest is because of love. My husband's from Nebraska. Don't hold it against me. Not my fault. But we met through the FFA, so I was also very involved in the FFA. And although I'm not a contested member, I would appreciate your vote for county attorney. To know my experience that I have, I currently work under the current county attorney, Micah Scroose, as his assistant county attorney, position I've held for the past year, a little over a year, where I have prosecuted misdemeanors, all the way from simple to aggravated, in various different ones, whether it be domestic or possession of controlled substances and such. So please vote.
Okay, I'm Tom Farnsworth. I live in Archer, just north Archer, and for all my life, except for 4 years when I served in the Navy. And the gentleman over there, we're talking about San Miguel beer in that, which, well, you have to taste it and that stuff. One of the things, I'm married to my wife, Glenna. We're going to be, 49 years in that stuff. So we're on our way to 50, which sometimes surprises me. Mental health, I'm very passionate about mental health. I'm on the Care Connection Board, which is 6 counties. One of the main reasons why I'm running is because we have some really difficult decisions to make, and there's going to be some decisions made by July of 19. That's going to affect a lot of people. That's coming down the pike, and so that's one of the things that I'm very interested in. I'm also in the Family Crisis Center, which is domestic abuse. I've been on that for now almost 15, 16 years. Very involved in that. I'm vice chairman of that. They are now the call center for domestic abuse and sexual abuse for the state of Iowa. And we're moving into a bigger building because we're running out of room. I'm also on Compass Point Board, which is drug and alcohol. That is if you don't know it, there's a lot of people. We have a huge problem with drugs, with opium and that stuff, and they work with that. They work with a lot of people. I'm an EMT. I have been for 35 years. I actually started Archer Ambulance over there, and I Brett Stowe, my wife and I are involved. You're seeing actually 2/3 of the team. There's one more that lives there, but we're basically are the ambulance in SF. But I have been for a lot of years. I have 2 sons. One, Frank, works up in Minneapolis, and Tim, who works in Sioux Falls, and they both have 2 kids. But I appreciate and ask for your vote. I would really appreciate it come this time of the week. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm Susan Smith. I'm the O'Brien County Recorder. I'm married. My husband's in the back, Kevin. I have 3 grown children and 6 grandkids. I would like to thank you for your past support, and I've enjoyed these last 4 years as recorder and working for the citizens of O'Brien County. Thought maybe I would just tell you a little bit what we do in our office, since I am unopposed, so everybody kind of gets a feeling of what we do. Our mission in the recorder's office is to serve the public well with great customer service. We record, maintain, and preserve the documents affecting the title to the real estate. We record and accept the documents now through electronic e-submission. We process all our recorded documents daily, and we return them up to Iowa Land Records, which serves as a great tool for online access to our public records for those that need them, like attorneys, bankers, real estate people, public, whatever it may be. We also do the vital records in our office. We do the birth, death, and marriage, military discharges. We issue all the certified copies out of there and issue marriage licenses. We register and title boats, snowmobiles, ATVs, ORVs, ORMs. We issue snow trail permits, and we recently, in April of 2017, we have an ordinance tag now. You can ride your ATVs and ORVs on county roads, and we implemented that, and we issue those out of our office now. We also issue various hunting and fishing licenses out of our office. I will continue to work hard for the citizens of O'Brien County, offering excellent customer service, continuing the upgrade of technology and the preservation of our records. I look forward to the next 4 years and would ask for your continued support. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Misty Hederman, and I live in Prungar, and you'll see me on the ballot June 5th, and I would greatly appreciate your vote. I've been in the O'Brien County Treasurer's Office for 26 years in the tax department. I am married and with 2 children and 4 wonderful grandchildren. I'm a lifelong resident of O'Brien County, and I am a Republican. In our office, we have 3 separate departments, the tax department, the motor vehicle, and the driver's license. The tax department consists of collecting all the revenues, all the taxes and disbursements, among many other things. The motor vehicle department does all your motor vehicle titling, of course, registration and renewals. And the driver's license department consists of issuing driver's license and doing testing and permits. I would greatly appreciate your vote on June 5th, and I've really enjoyed working with the public for the last 26, going on 27 years. And thank you.
I'm Dennis Fogelman. I started out here in a farm, raised in O'Brien County, went to school in O'Brien County, farmed in O'Brien County after the Navy. I was fortunate enough to grow up in the golden years of the 50s. We didn't have much money. My brother and I, Frank, took a lot of heat sometimes from riding the school bus because our dad could not plant straight roads. He was in the late 40s. He was a contoured farmer. We also took a little heat because of the shirts we wore that my mother, Catherine, for those of you that knew her, made out of chicken feed sacks. So that goes back a ways. But anyway, we survived. And later on, joined the Scouts. My brother and I were both Eagle Scouts. 4-H, we had projects all through the years, hogs, cattle, dairy heifers. Then eventually I was elected in the county as the president of the county 4-H. After that, I went to the Navy. When I got out of the Navy, came back and farmed for 2 years on the Century Farm that we have down south here, which incidentally has only had 3 farmers on it. My grandfather Frank, my dad Lyle, and my brother Frank. So we've been here a while. Also, what? 20 seconds, okay. People have asked me, because I have a hotline, a listing post hotline, I get a lot of calls on that from all over the county with people that want to ask me questions. The biggest one is, why do you want to run for supervisor? Because I'm interested in what's happening to taxpayers and the tax money. So we'll call it there, and we'll talk about it more later.
Thank you. Okay, now it's your turn. Who has questions for any of the candidates?
Oh, so shy. Yeah.
Mary? I have basically 3 different questions for the people running for supervisor. And one is, what's your vision of what you're going to do with the windmill tax in O'Brien County? How, what you're looking at, how you're looking at using it? What kind of support you give and how you vision the county economic development? What kind of support and how you envision the Nature Center and the Conservation Commission? I think I'll stop with that right now. Actually, I'll tell you what, you guys can contemplate on that a little bit. Dan, I wanted to ask you about rides. You're on that. Where in O'Brien County does rides go?
Right now, they have a hub out of Sheldon. They have a bus in Sheldon. Rides does go through, I've seen it go through Sutherland, through Primgar, through the outlying regions. I've been asked this question before, and I am disappointed in rides that we do not get routes through our outlying towns. And what I'm always given is, because we pay, the city of Sheldon pays money towards rides. And they paid $10,000 this year towards rides. Then the county pays, I believe it's, I gotta remember, I thought it was, Tom, do you remember, is it 5 or 10?
Right now,
County pays also towards rides. And then the bigger towns also pay towards rides. I am disappointed that we don't get service to our smaller towns, and I've asked and tried and tried. Part of the reason is, it's an expensive route, for one thing, with very, very, very few pickups. We can have a scheduled pickup for a doctor's appointment to Orange City, which is part of our region, to Sheldon Hospital, Primgar. I'm gonna tell you, it's an expensive pickup, and if Medicaid covers it, that's a good thing. If it doesn't, it's on the person or their insurance. Just the expense and the trying to get drivers. We can't get enough drivers ever. We have a huge rotation, because usually the drivers for rides are retired, or a lot of times a spouse of the main breadwinner in the family. And health has a lot to do with the turnaround in rides drivers too. We are constantly looking for drivers, as all other industry almost is in this part of the country, trying to get drivers. And it's very competitive. We've raised our rates for drivers to try and get them. And we're doing pretty good, but we just can't sustain the high mile rural routes. This is what I've been told by the administration of rides, and I keep trying. And so far, they said if we had adequate number of drivers, we might be able to look into doing it, but we can't hardly keep it for regular routes now.
So you're saying that Sheldon is the only town that
In O'Brien,
basically gets serviced?
in O'Brien County.
O'Brien County.
No, not the only town that gets service. The only town that pays for service. And there is a bus with a route in Sheldon. There is a bus with a route in Sheldon, and I used to hinge a lot on the village, giving rides for the village. But now the state has changed all that, and they're allowing $15 million for all these places like the village, Hope Haven, to set up their own. And we still do quite a bit of Hope Haven, and the village actually still contracts with us to do quite a bit, but they're trying to do it on their own now. And really 15 million for the whole state isn't probably enough to sustain them, but they're all just starting it up too. There's a learning curve to all that. And some of them are successful, some are still working on it. But we take up the slack for those towns. The village was one of our big contracts, and it's not near what it used to be anymore because of the change in the Medicaid and the payment for those rides. So we still do VT Industries to, from Storm Lake. We set up a bus from Storm Lake to VT Industries to bring riders there. EPS, I believe, in Esterville, to go to work there, they bring a ride from Spencer to Esterville for employees there. And that's an income generator for us. And plus we got grant dollars to do that from federal, so it's a 2-year program. But as far as the route down here, to be honest with you, it's a struggle for me, and I'm trying, but I haven't made any headway yet.
But from what you're saying, it's not only Sutherland,
Oh, no.
it's all the other communities with exception. Sheldon pays, and I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly understand that. But the rest of them, other than the fact they pass through.
We're with the outskirts of the routes. And it's out of the route, which is $2.81 a mile to go outside that route. It's not my favorite thing. I'd love to be able to have if somebody needed a doctor's appointment, and they can do that, but it's expensive for them. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not a fan of that, but it's just the way it is, as I've been told, because we cannot supply the manpower, and it's cost. I mean, if we had a regular route every day, or even twice a week, to go through the southern tier of towns in our county, that'd be nice, and I'm working on that, trying to get them to do that. Hasn't happened yet.
Makes sense.
To add to the ride system, for emergency services here, we had talked about with like Willoway and the nursing home, that if we would have an emergency situation where we need to bus people, so you're saying with the ride system, like if it would be a late night, we wouldn't be able to use ride system? Or is it like the funding have to come out of the nursing home, or are you saying the Bell-Times funding would take care of that?
So if we had busing from Willoway to doctor's appointments?
No, like, we had talked about like emergency situation in the middle of a winter or something.
Yeah.
Willoway, something would happen to Willoway, something would happen to nursing home, where we need to bus a good number of 12 or more people
Yep.
to a location. And we would use like a ride system.
Yep.
We've talked about it for our emergency system in the future, just to sit.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know who would pay for that,
Okay,
but it could be set up.
it could be set up.
Oh, absolutely. That's actually,
So it is available still here?
oh yeah,
Okay,
that's a dream ride for rides as an organization, because it's multiple people. You know, to come down for one person, it's the amount of dollars it costs to do that one ride. And you know, any organization, you can't do it at a loss. So we do some at a loss, but it's a mild loss, just to keep the service going.
So is it, it's still something available? That we
Oh
can-
yeah, absolutely. If you want me to bring that up with them, I certainly can.
Were you talking emergency, and are you talking scheduled?
Well, she's talking emergency. Emergency, depends on how much notice, but you call and there's a driver available, I do suspect they would be able to get you taken care of.
Yeah, I think what they're looking at is if there's like,
The tornado takes out
that,
town.
yeah,
and
they have
you
to, or the
evacuate.
heat in the facility, they have to relocate them from
I'm trying to
fire or
think
whatever.
if we've
That's
had
what
that
she's-
as a region, not since I've been on that board, but certainly I'd love to bring it up with them, and I will.
Because Jamie, do you have to make that part of a disaster plan for the community?
We had talked about it
Yeah.
with like Willow, and we also had talked about it kind of with the nursing homes, just because just the large group that we have, trying to get them somewhere safely.
Yeah, if they needed to evacuate.
Evacuate in that, just because you always want to evacuate systems at each
Yeah.
location.
And there is a community disaster plan, and I'm not sure RIDES is part of that, but Northwest Iowa,
It's a county disaster.
it's a region and county, we have a county disaster plan, which is part of Northwest Iowa disaster plan, and she comes to the RIDES meetings all the time. So they are resources that can be utilized.
Thank you. Okay, what else do we have besides public transportation, which was a very good discussion, thank you, Dan.
He had some other questions too.
Yeah,
Propose those other three
the wind
questions.
tax.
What was,
Windmill-
windmill tax?
Windmill tax.
Who wants to take that?
Take that.
All of them.
I've been talking for a little while,
He
so
wants
let's,
all of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, the wind tax that we have, what we did last year was basically, it was all given as a tax credit. You did get a tax relief from the windmill money last year. In fact, I believe, Dan, it was the total was almost 1.3 million over 2 years. So there will probably be more, but one thing to remember is it's not going to be 100%. We have other projects that we're talking about. I was talking to a gentleman over here. Dan and I have been talking about these roads. We've got a lot of problems with some of these gravel roads, of rocking them. We talked about trying to do some this year, but the DOT said, no way, can't do it because of our budget's set already, can't. But I think it will happen next year. Some of that money will be used for that, for some roads, to help build up some of these gravel roads, so they're not so soft. Like you were saying, the one out of Group 21, what's not Group 21 now, City, is very soft. One of the things that you have to remember, the legislature was looking at a 10% rollback. In fact, they did do a 10% rollback on commercial property. Fortunately, they talked about it in the legislature this year. It didn't happen. So they are going to backfill it. But believe me, they are going to do it. So this county is sitting very fortunate to have the wind tax, the extra wind tax that we have, we don't have to raise property taxes. Where some of the counties around us are going to be affected very hard with this rollback, or basically the state's not going to fund them anymore, and they're going to have to raise property taxes to keep everything going. That's something that's not going to happen, and it's not necessary here because we have quite a bit of property tax from the windmills that we can use. Yes, there will be some property tax relief. There'll be more. More of this is coming online. They're in the southern, the Highland project is in their second year. The northern one, north of the highway, basically, is going to pay on their first year. So yes, you will see some relief. I can't tell you how much until we do our budget and that stuff, but there will be someone, and I think we're all in agreement of that. So, okay? Somebody
Should we
else?
let somebody else have a turn?
Sure.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Yeah, 3 questions. The vision with the windmill tax, yeah, I think it's, we have to have tax relief with that money, and I think it's up to the board to do that. I don't know if it's necessary to start another committee or something to spend money, and that's kind of the platform I was kind of kind of working on. I think there's a lot of things that can be done to probably help O'Brien County as far as economic development, bring people, bring jobs. You start looking back at other towns and different things, Sioux Falls, Des Moines, Sioux City, what their jobs-based pay is paying. We're really not that far behind in O'Brien County. We're at like 52,000 mean salary, and Sioux Falls is 59. You know, some of the Des Moines ones are 52 to 58, you know, and you always ask that question, why do people leave this area, you know, to go find other jobs? And I think, you know, the jobs are here, you know, and we just got to kind of work to try to promote industry and try to get some people, especially in the eastern part of O'Brien County, you know, to try to, and Sheldon's had their issues with job creation too. You know, we got a lot of big employers that are right across the road in Sioux County, and that's tough for Sheldon because, you know, it's good for our tax base there, property taxes and stuff. We got housing and everything. Most of the housing is all in O'Brien County, but the business over there somewhere else. And it'd be nice if we could draw them back in. So, do you want to go on the next question too?
You can go ahead and address those as well at the same time.
I kind of, yeah, mentioned the support of economic development. You know, whatever we can do. If we got to go down to Des Moines and shake some hands and try to get some people here, you know, and work on the industry. And you know, if there's anything anybody knows, a vision of mine was kind of to, you know, find these guys that, the older guys that started these businesses in different companies, and try to get them together. And you know, is there any more ideas? You know, can we find anything more? You know, you know, that might spark something that we can get something going up here in Northwest Iowa. And the Nature Center, I think it's a great deal. Personally, it's a bad thing. We were going to go a couple times. I've never been there yet. And our family was going to go a couple days, and then it was canceled. And I've been an avid hunter. Years ago, I kind of quit. I don't do it. My wife likes animals. She don't want me to shoot them. And you know, Bambi's pretty. And I've trapped years back. I still have a fishing license. We kayak on the little Sheldon frog pond there right by our house, and it's very enjoyable. You know, and there's a lot of people that use that little area too, and I'm hoping Sheldon will develop that a little bit more. And but no, as far as conservation, you know, the farmers and everything with land and use, and we've had many different gifts from different places that are really supportive of O'Brien County as far as conservation and open public hunting, and I'm really for that. So.
I'd like to go back to rides. Dan might remember that I brought that subject up to him early on in his years as supervisor. I have a little bit of experience with rides, and I have a little bit of experience with Sutherland Regional Transit. Many of you know that I do some volunteer work with wheelchairs. I also drive a bus for Sutherland Regional Transit, which is the equivalent of rides in Cherokee County. My first encounter with rides was I had a doctor's appointment in Storm Lake, 33.5 miles. The doctor told me because of the medication he was going to use that I had to have a driver or a ride. So, because I knew about Sutherland Regional Transit, I called rides because I live in O'Brien County. I got the shock of my life. I told him I had to go to Storm Lake. I had to give him my address and the address of the hospital in Storm Lake where I was going, and then a return trip, same day. $196. The reason it was so shocking is because Sutherland Regional Transit, for that exact same trip, charges about $38. But that wasn't the only time that happened. I was recently approached at the hospital in Cherokee by a lady in a wheelchair. And she was asking me if that was my bus parked out at the emergency door because she had seen me unload another wheelchair. And when I said yes, she said, "Do you go to Sutherland?" And I said, "Ma'am, I live in Sutherland." I said, "What do you need?" She said, "Well, my husband brings me to rehab in the wheelchair, but he's going to have surgery and he can't drive. And I've still got these appointments for rehab, for physical rehabilitation." I said, "Well, in Sutherland, that's O'Brien County, so you should call Wrights." She said, "Well, I did." And I said, "And?" And she said, $284. Because she had to pay for the bus to come from Spencer to pick her up in Sutherland, take her to Cherokee, and then time for whatever, and then to go back on the return trip. I've asked the supervisors to please do something about it. We heard tonight that Dan is vice chairman and due to be, after next election, the chairman of Rights Board. There's a reason that they charge $2.81 a mile and other systems charge 50 cents a mile. There's a reason they have trouble recruiting. And I think we can fix that. We can ask the question, how many full-time drivers do you have? Is that the reason for the turnover? Because it gets expensive not only in O'Brien County, if they can't have full-time drivers, it also gets expensive for the state. And most of us in the room pay state income tax too. We got a call from a nursing home in Cherokee that needed to take a person to Sutherland. In fact, the relative's in the room tonight. We got to Sutherland and they wrote a check and they said, "Why are you so much less money than Rides in Sutherland?" And I said, "You have to call Rides and talk to them," because I didn't want to get in the middle of that one. But the real kicker for me was the day we got the call to go to Primgar, to take a lady to Sheldon. We all know how far that is, right? When I went up there and got her, took her to Sheldon, I had to wait an hour for her to come to take her back. And she said, "Why did they send somebody from Cherokee? Why can't they send somebody from Primgar?" And I said, "I don't know." She said, "Well, at least it's better than Waterloo." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Well, the last time Rides didn't have anybody, so they sent a bus from Waterloo, Iowa, to pick me up, to take me to Sheldon for an hour, and then to take me back, and then he went back to Waterloo." Something's haywire. Something's really haywire with that. I'll talk about tax relief later, maybe.
I'd like to hear about and I'm not talking necessarily tax relief, I'm just talking about how what their vision of windmill tax and what to do with it.
Okay.
The County Economic Development and the Nature Center.
Okay.
Conservation.
With that
From each
said,
one.
could I take a moment here and let Missy tell us a little bit, or Susan, about what some of the rules are on how they can use it and what really happens in terms of, it's not the wind turbines are taxed X dollars and it all comes to the county, right?
Sure.
Right. Can you explain that a little bit?
I'll try. For the most part, our office collects the revenue and disperses it to the authorities. And I'm not real familiar with exactly what's going on with the windmills, just the basic things. It's a 7-year phase to 30% of the value. The first year it's 5% for each farm. The first farm, which I believe is a Highland farm, will be collectible in 2018-19. The second farm will be collectible for the 5% 2019 to 2020. And that's all based on a value that's given to our county assessor. The other part of it, mine is just the collection. The supervisors are the ones that you need to ask the other questions to. Mine is strictly just the collection and what's going to happen on that part. So that's how I understand that part of it. It's just the collection part. The other part, that would be them to ask.
Does anybody have an estimate of, I know it's a 7-year phase-in, am I correct?
Yes.
$18,000 a year when it's all said and done.
How much?
$18,000 per year for each windmill.
So how many windmills?
Well, there's
318.
What I'm looking at is the total dollars.
318, it comes to approximately, and my math may be incorrect, $5.7 million per year, of which approximately 52% approximately goes to the schools through the state. Not all of it, part of it's PEPL, if they have a PEPL levy that they've passed.
You know, it's one of the things with, I talked to Bill Thompson over at HMS because they were set to get the first round of money. And they had got, I asked Bill basically, what can you use this money for? Not much. The problem is we always said years ago when all this was coming, we were surprised the state didn't get their fingers in it. Well, the state got their fingers.
They did.
So what they're doing, what the state is doing, and this came from Bill Thompson, the superintendent, if he gets 56% of whatever is collected for that year, you give it to that school, the state then takes it away from their state aid. And so they get nothing. They get some. They can use it for some other programs more than what they can with the state aid. So there is a little bit of leeway in there. One of the things that you have to remember is on this wind tax and that stuff, it's still county property tax, okay? So when we reduce the property taxes, which it will happen, and I can't tell you the amount, but it will happen. The problem is you're reducing the windmills too. So it's not like we're sitting here and, okay, you have property here, land property as tax one, and the windmills are taxed as another. No, they're all taxed as the same thing. So we have to be very careful of how we do this. True, but we're looking, to me what we're doing is we're looking at some of these roads. We're looking at some projects that we can include now since we know how the system works, how we have to work around the DOT. Unfortunately, we couldn't do things this year, but things will happen. There's some roads we're talking about. There's a lot of stuff that we can do with that and to better O'Brien County. And as far as economic development, I sit on the economic development board. Jim, I sat with you there for a number of years. Are we behind the county? Absolutely. Is there some ways, you know what, we all talk about employment. We can't find enough employees and find enough people to work. They don't, trying to keep them here. The problem is they all run up to the Twin Cities or down to Des Moines or someplace and don't want to stick around here in that stuff. How do you solve it? I don't know. Starter homes, you know. There's a lot of things that was talked about. Some starter homes, trying to help people with starter homes. That was, you know, some of the things that were talked about. There's a lot of ideas out there. It's just how can we manage them? How can we go about them and that stuff? And I want to say something about rides. Dan is not, shouldn't it? We talk about this when rides, Lou, is that his name? Hugh comes and does a report once a year to the supervisors. We have complained about what Danny is saying. We have talked to him about this, that we don't like the expense. We don't like, we wish that they would get out more. We wish that they would go make a route or something. We have talked about this with you. And so it's not that we're just sitting here doing nothing. We are complaining. And we do complain, and he takes that, and I don't know where it goes from there. I'm sure it goes back to the board, and I'm sure that Dan does address that. And Dan's right there when we're doing it. So we're not happy about it, of this stuff.
So can I just have, am I interrupting? So on the windmill tax, I'm new to the area. I've been here a couple of years. And so I'm just trying to get a grasp of, I've just now nailed down the city part. So now I'm trying to learn as much as I can on the county part. So, and I'm just going to tell you from what I'm hearing, just a little tiny bit on the vision of the windmill tax is that your biggest focus is on roads. What would some other than that, what would some other visions be for that? And then the other part is related to rides. Forgive me for all of this. Is that a for-profit entity or a not-for-profit entity that's contracted with government or not contracted with government? How is that laid out? Is rides a private group?
Well, I'll have to let Dan answer that on rides,
Okay.
on about the profit or non-profit and stuff like that. For what okay, right now, true, our biggest thing is on roads and bridges. Okay, we have a lot of bridges that need to be fixed up, we have a lot of roads that need to be fixed up. There's some talk about different things. We have some problems with that. Is there some other ideas that are coming up? Absolutely. It just depends. When budget time comes, we're talking about EMS system. We've had long discussions up at the supervisor's room about what are we going to do with the EMS system. Our EMSs, Primgar's hurting, Sanborn's hurting, Archer's hurting, Polina's hurting. We're all hurting for volunteers. What do we have to do? How can we solve that? Can we use some of that to help solve that? That's been an idea that's been bounced around. Do we make a countywide, do we make a system? Do we put paid volunteer or paid people around? Maybe that's going to happen because truthfully, we're not getting the volunteers. They're just not coming.
Yeah.
And so we're hurting in that stuff. I mean, guys, I'm 71 years old and I'm still an EMT. My wife is, well, she's not 69.
That's why we have the fire department.
Yeah, the fire department helps us out good. But there's a lot of things that we're talking about. At the EMS task force, and I'll tell you this, we're talking about, the other day we had a meeting, I'm on the EMS task force, we talked about trying to change that would help of when the EMT class is being presented. Right now it starts in September and runs through April. It's a horrible time for farmers. Horrible time. Could we back that up to start in basically last part of October or first part of November and start out 2 nights a week and get this done? We've talked about that. That has been part of our EMS task force talking. There's a lot of questions. And there's a lot of things we can do, but true, right now, yes, we're talking roads. Yes.
Well, I mean, in order to attract people, you have to have housing, which I think we've talked about even in Sutherland is, to get the workers, to have the housing and stuff. So
well, we talked about,
starter homes.
at one time we talked about starter homes.
Yeah.
Helping people with, a lot of times it's a down payment.
Yeah.
Okay, they can't afford the $5,000 down payment.
Right.
If we could do something where they guarantee us that they would stay in the county, wouldn't sell the house, it's an idea.
Yeah.
It's an idea. Can it happen? I don't know. It's something that not just me can decide it, or Dan can decide it. This is something that the board has to decide. What can we use it? So getting back to Jim's answer, yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do. It's something, but where do we go? It's year to year. That's what it is.
Nature Center,
The Nature Center?
you haven't talked about Nature Center and conservation.
Can I say a moment? I apologize, I should have said I'm gonna time these too. I apologize. I promised these guys they could be out at 8.
Oh.
So,
That's not happening.
if they wanna stay, they can stay, but just so that y'all know, I did make a promise, so we might lose some for volunteerism specifically. So shame on me, I apologize for that. But is there?
Yeah, ball games are over.
All right, I'll give you one thing. Yes, I'm behind the Nature Center. okay? I fully support it. You know I was there when I put the spade in the ground. Carl Struve was one that I had defeated, and it was a long story of how that all happened. But I did have Carl come up and help me with this thing, because he was very involved in that. That was his pet project, I could say. But the Nature Center, yes, I've been there a number of times, and I've donated to it, and that's why I'm behind it, yes.
And the County Conservation Commission.
Yeah, yeah, none of us, I don't think we're against the county conservation. I think it's just a matter, we look at each thing that's going to be done. Right now, we're working with the conservation on the Dalma Park. We're putting in a new bathroom and doing some things with some of the pads up there, and these are bad. The bathroom, you might as well have an outhouse. You know, it was horrible. There's been some suggestions. The other day, I had someone talk to me about blacktopping it down there. And I'm not against that, because right now, you have to travel gravel. And a lot of people don't like to pull their camper down on gravel, myself included, and that stuff. So, yes. Okay.
Tom, let's let Dennis
Okay.
and Dan.
I have a question. Maybe some of you know, 4 years ago I ran for county supervisor. My concern was these gravel roads. You keep saying, oh, that's in the future, that's in the future. We got a road going east of town. A young guy I used to work with, has to use four-wheel drive to get to Dan's place. How long does he have to wait to get that road fixed? Last summer he was using four-wheel drive, and I drove that road the other day, and I'm sure this spring already he's had to use four-wheel drive to get to Dan's place. Now how damn long do we gotta wait to get the road fixed? He's a young man with a young family. Doesn't he deserve a road that he can get to town on?
Do you want me to answer that?
I want, it's in Dan's district, but I hear it from you, I hear it never gets fixed.
I'll tell you my explanation on that. If we go out there and rock that road, and every road like it, that comes out of the secondary roads budget. Secondary roads budget is only so big. We can tax, state law says we can only tax to a certain level. We're just below that level. If we max out to that level, we're fine. We can, legally, it'll raise taxes, and that's fine. We cannot take windmill revenues. And I had a plan, I thought it was gonna work. $4,000 a mile to rock the roads. Within 10 years, we'd have every gravel road rocked. Every mile, per mile was $4,000. We had it planned out. Can't do it because that would go beyond our budget. We are a fortunate county that we have no serviceable debt as of just, well, this end of this fiscal year, end of June here. And we have added revenues coming in from the windmills. My vision for the windmill is economic development. They go hand in hand. Economic development, which we have one of the best, I'd say there is in O'Brien County, with our director, who I really appreciate, Kiana Johnson. They're going to come up with some plans, and they're going to be workable plans, and we're going to support those plans. And those are projects that we're going to support as supervisors for the economic development of this county. As far as the roads go, we can take money out of our existing rural fund, our secondary roads fund. We can't spend beyond that.
But
We
the
can't.
problem is, the county graded that road all up.
Yep.
And screwed it up. It's never been right since then. And you got residents living out there that have to drive that road.
I understand that, they do.
Don't they deserve a road that they don't have to have a four-wheel drive pickup to get to town?
I'm going to answer that, and you might not like it, but ever since I was a kid, there was a lot of times we needed a four-wheel drive pickup. Oh yes, don't tell me I'm wrong, because I'm not. We had to have four-wheel drive pickups when I was living out South Calumet there.
I lived up there for 7 years. One time that road up north, and it was embargoed, got so soft that the milk trucks and the feed trucks couldn't get out the swings.
Okay.
One year.
Okay. Now, are we to stop all semi-traffic on these roads? We can't. It's the economic, one of the biggest economy boosters to this county is livestock and agriculture.
That road is getting no traffic compared to what it did when I lived there. No
Okay.
traffic. Because Sweeney's not feeding hogs out there anymore.
No, but Roush's are, Bomber is. I see way more semis now than I ever did in the past, year after year. Equipment's getting bigger, it's something we gotta deal with. It's the economy of our county is agriculture.
I understand that.
And it's not easy on our roads, we just have to deal with it, and we're trying to do our best. We did the last crush out of the Mormon pit was a bigger crush. Big difference in the gravel right now. And it's gonna take time, but it is a big difference in the gravel. So there's progress there. It's gonna take time.
All I'm saying is, how long does he have to wait to get a road that he can make the town with money? I don't mind the spring of the year, everybody expects it.
Okay?
But in the middle of summer, when you get a hard rain, you got the same problem again?
Yeah, we got cross oils in them, and I don't know how to solve that problem. Rock. We're gonna start rocking certain spots and areas. The county has purchased the rock already, and it is stockpiled. And they're crushing some also. I'm gonna leave that one. I'm gonna go back to county conservation. I hit on the economic development, nature center. I support county conservation in the properties that county conservation has now. And I will support improvements on those properties. I support the nature center, beautiful place. It's, I love it. I do not support any more land acquisition. I have said it publicly, I have said it privately, and I have said it to the conservation board. I do not support any more land acquisition. That's because of a lot of the people I talk to, that's what their opinion is, and it's also my opinion. So, because I don't know where does it stop, when is enough enough? And
You're basically talking about DNR.
DNR, county conservation, I don't like land acquisition. Because there's nothing wrong with private ownership, and I like private ownership. And private ownership takes care of their ground very well too. I'm just opposed to any more land acquisition by conservation DNR. We can't control DNR, obviously. But that's my opinion, and that's what I push for.
And when they acquire that land, doesn't it come off the tax rolls also?
Yes. Yes.
It's no longer tax county.
Depends on if it's through another organization, such as a conservancy. I believe they have to pay taxes. And then if it gets transferred back over to, I mean, there's roundabout ways of going about land acquisition through DNR, and DOT owns property out here. The DOT owns property out here. They acquired as a wetlands mitigation from Highway 20 project down by Correctionville. DNR had the property. They interagency gave it to DOT, who had a multi-million-dollar project for a restoration of a fish, and I don't even know all the details, but it was for the spawning of a certain fish on a creek. Now that's enough of you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, about your road question, it always seems a little strange. I'm from Archer, and we live right behind or in front of we farm or have our shop right in front of the county shop. And it seems like the guys get, later on in the summer, they get less to do, so then they go out and gravel roads in the fall right before winter, and they blow all the snow out in the ditch. And it seems like that big pile of gravel is always sitting there in the spring, when it would be nice if, instead of hauling it in and stockpiling it, why don't they just haul it out on the roads to begin with? And they've done that later on, and you know, now they're still working on some roads in different spots there too, but so much of the gravel that they are getting now has so much clay in it. It just, you know, when you drive through it, it's sloppy, it's sticky, and you know, it just, something has to be added with it, you know, some coarse rock or something to get it to go. And the pits around here, as far as I know, Mark Marietta and stuff locally, you know, like the Ashton pit, they don't have very much, they don't get a lot of 3/4 and smaller rock out of that one. You almost have to go to like the Emmitsburg there's options where they can, you know, do something with
Well,
their
Dr.
tractors.
went around the Larrabee, they seem to be digging a lot out of there.
We don't own it.
We did though, and
We have.
supervisors give it away. That's what happened.
Had part ownership in that.
That was,
They had the mining, O'Brien County had the mining rights, that's it. And when we had a previous engineer here, he'd give it away.
that was quite a few years ago. Okay, you know, I want to mention something about Archie's shop and that stuff. I used to be the foreman there. I worked out of there for 30 years. The thing is the stockpile there that's brought in, the reason they bring some stockpile in there because the roads are too wet or it's not able to run the trucks down the road because they'll just tear it up even more. So the roads have to be conditioned to be able to put the gravel on. As far as blowing the gravel in the ditch, what they do is they cut the shoulders, and that's what's happening now, so the water runs off of them. I know it does seem to make a mess, but that is necessary. They do so many miles a year to do that. I think, Mark, you did that when you was over there in Hartley. It's not a very...
Well, you don't have to make a mess out of it, it depends how you run your motor.
Yeah, but they can, but it does. But anyhow, it
Come
does...
look at the 1 mile out of town.
Well, it does happen. It does when they cut it and that stuff. But if you run a maintainer, which I don't think you have any, and so it's hard to say I have. So it's not an easy process to do. The thing is basically that's why they stockpile, and they also stockpile so they can get into it if they have to during the midwinter. If there is a bad spot, that's the reason they don't have to try to get into the big pit.
Thanks, Tom, sorry. It is after 8 o'clock, so I broke my promise to a few people, I apologize. How about, since this is kind of a lively discussion, in order to make some graceful exits for anybody that needs to, we take like 5-minute break. Let the folks that need to refresh in whatever way, or be back on volunteer duty or whatever, can do so. And then we can come back and have some more questions. Or do you want to keep going?
I'll keep going.
Okay.
Danny is not answering.
Right.
Thank you. I've been going to the Board of Supervisors meetings for about 1.5 years now every Tuesday. Anybody feel sorry for me yet? I'd like to address, first of all, on the gravel roads, I'd like to address something I overheard at a Board of Supervisors meeting where there was no tape going, no video, no recording. They were talking about gravel roads, they were talking about some leftover limestone. And 2 of the supervisors that weren't here, that are not here tonight, suggested that they use it in southeast O'Brien because of the road conditions. And another supervisor said, oh no, it ought to be divided up evenly among the districts. Regardless, this is me saying this now, regardless of the condition of the road, even though other people wanted to give some attention to the roads that we have problems with, it had to be divided up by each supervisor's district.
I'd like to know when this happened, because I do not remember this.
I know it, I'm sure, I don't think I remember it either.
I think I know what he's referring to. I'll respond to it.
Yeah, I have no
You can
idea what
finish
you're
if you want.
talking about.
Now, I may be wrong, but I recall this conversation, and I believe I said every district in our county, secondary road district, has their bad roads. And I said, I suggest that we start using that on each designated road. And I said, I do believe the foreman of each district will know which roads those are. And let's start by doing X number of miles in each district. Because our roads aren't any worse than District 3, or District 4, District 2, District 1. They all have their share of bad roads. And everybody who lives around them know where those roads are. So Pierce Avenue is a bad one over that direction. We have on the way, the wide roads, which at one point were intended to be blacktop. We have the ones by City View, we have the ones east of town, and it's usually the wide roads that have lost their crown, and we should start rocking those. And we're gonna try and do that, so many miles per year. Well, is it fair to the taxpayer up by north of Sanborn to not get any of their roads done, because they have their bad share of roads too? A lot of them are by hog confinements or whatever it may be, high traffic, high, heavy traffic roads. We all have them. I think it should be split up equally in the county. Have their worst roads taken care of, X number of miles per area in the county. And that's, I believe, how that went. And that was my suggestion. And I told that to our engineer. I thought that was a fair and legitimate way of utilizing the rock that we were going to acquire and have.
But I don't remember, I do remember us talking about something about rocking the roads and that stuff, and we did say that we thought that each district had roads that were very bad. I mean, I get complaints up there by Sanborn, by Plessis up there is bad, Vanderwerst is another place that goes bad. I think we did talk about when we started about doing this rocking of the road. I don't remember us having a big pile of limestone someplace. I don't remember anything of that.
We have some rock available in
There is some rock.
Everly that we have purchased. It's got to get crushed. And
Correct.
we're going to use that rock.
But, yeah, that's what we're talking about, is each district probably has 6 miles, 10 miles that are very bad, very heavy travel. They need some update. They need some rock. They need some putting it together, you know, doing the whole thing to get it stable. But I don't remember what Danny's talking about. We needed to use it down here. I don't remember that conversation.
That was lively. Okay, we've talked about roads, we've talked about economic development, windmills.
questions.
There's been a lot of discussion about the windmill money. I think in the courthouse, they prefer that we address them as turbines, wind turbines. Anyway, I was straightened out on that one day. According to my count, there's 214 in one farm, in one wind farm, and 104 in the other. When I visited the assessor's office, doing a little research, and these numbers are all laying back on the table, including the budget and the way that commercial and residential and farm property are all taxed, are laying back on the table for handouts if anybody's interested. But there's a lot of talk about what we're going to do with all this money that we're getting from wind turbines. And just for the record, the assessor's office has each windmill in that first farm, 214, assessed at $3,700,000 as full value. That's full value, okay? That's almost $800 million. And then the next farm of a little less than that, 104, at $3,400,000. Now that's about $350 million. That's over $1 billion in real value. But the problem is, and most of us don't realize this, the maximum they're ever going to be is 30%, where all the other commercial properties are at 100% minus the rollbacks, which effectively for commercial and industrial property is currently about 90%. Yeah, about 90%, with counting the rollback. So most of the state legislature and the lobbyists and whoever else were involved have already grabbed 70% of that tax money. While our industries and our companies here in O'Brien County that are having trouble recruiting, things like that, are still being taxed at 90 or 100%. And the windmills aren't. And if that's not bad enough, of the 30% that the maximum they'll ever tax, they've already given away that. 0 the first year, 5% the second, third. You know, pretty soon we're talking about some real money here, aren't we? But yet, it's not slowing us down when we start talking about all these wonderful things that we're gonna do with the windmill money, right? Folks, I tell you what, 70% of it right off the top's already gone. And who's making up for it? The rest of us that are left to pay the taxes. That's what I meant when I said, you know, my first interest in being a supervisor is what's going on with the stewardship of the money we do have. We can talk more about that later.
You haven't talked about economic development, you haven't talked about the nature center.
That's what I was talking about. That's all this free money that we were gonna get from all these windmills.
I wasn't relating them. We had no windmill money. I want to know where you would be at with those issues. Everybody's relating this to windmill tax. I'm not relating it to windmill tax.
Are you talking about the nature center?
Nature center, the county conservation, and the county economic development.
Are you talking about the 4,000 acres they took out of production off the tax rolls?
County conservation did not do that.
Okay.
DNR, I'm not talking about the DNR.
So you just want to talk conservation?
County conservation,
From
the nature center,
soil conservation standpoint, from tourism, from recreation?
from tourism, recreation, support.
They had a report given to the Board of Supervisors in February from a committee that was formed to figure out how to spend this tax money, and the research they did indicated that only 3% of the people that they interviewed were even interested in tax relief. And I think 25%, the other 25, there was 25% of the people they interviewed were interested in tourism and things that would keep people that have already left the county here. So we've got places like Dog Creek and other parks in the county and things like that that provide recreation. And I'm all for research that does those kinds of things, if that's what the people want. If that's the highest and best use of the tax money, then that's what we ought to do.
Just want to make a statement. We have, it'd be interesting to know in the last 20 years the amount of jobs that's been created within O'Brien County. Between, whether that be JTV, whether that be the ethanol plant, there's been deluxe feeds or whatever it is in Shell. I mean, there's various different AMPI and whatnot. There's been a lot of jobs created in O'Brien County, and yet our population continues to dwindle.
A lot of them don't live in O'Brien County.
We have a huge amount of people driving into O'Brien County to work in these industries, and we have to figure out why they do not move here. We have got to get population of O'Brien County to grow, or those people that are concerned about farm taxes, which I think is fine. I want you to know that as a commercial customer, I paid by far more property tax than a lot of farm people have. There's a lot of farm people own a lot more land than what my somehow or another, we have to figure out how to keep people here plus bring people here. We may provide all the jobs, Tommy, you're right. Create all the jobs you want, we don't have people to work in.
One of the ways, Jim, excuse me if I'm interrupting you, but one of the ways that we were talking about, that has been talked about, is these starter homes.
Okay.
There's a lot of places, people are living in Sioux Center, they're living in different places, a lot of them are living in apartments and stuff like that, and they want to own a home. But they don't have the money to do the starter homes. Would that be a way? I don't know.
And I wish I had the answers. I do think housing is a problem, and not just housing, quality housing is a problem in O'Brien County in general. I think, quite frankly, and I'm relating to Sutherland, I think that the smaller the community part, the larger the problem is, and I mean that sincerely. But we also got to provide recreation and entertainment for these people, because people don't want to live here. I tell you right now, I feel very sorry, and I'm going to name a name, and I could be stepping on some toes here, but I feel very sorry for Hartley, Iowa. The amount of people in that community that go to the lakes is just astronomical. We've got a fair amount of them here. I mean, it's not. And to think that the amount of dollars that they've spent on housing and recreation and whatnot there, and some of these are business owners, industry owners. They've been various different people. You know, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know any easy way of doing this, but I do think we have to have a huge concern, and that has to start not only with the economic development, county conservation, the supervisors have got to be very active in this area. I was really concerned, and I know I brought up a couple times about the highway system in O'Brien County. Until Highway 10 got done, I don't know, how many years ago did they get done? 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
2.
2 years ago?
Yep.
We didn't have one decent state highway
In O'Brien
in
County.
O'Brien County. Not one. I don't know, did the supervisors contact the state, the DOT?
Yep.
Worked on it. I mean, you know, and I know I contacted Kiana about the county economic development, working on getting it done. Personally, I made my own contacts of doing it. But I need to tell you the number of people that I talked to that said they didn't come through Sutherland anymore because Highway 10.
Oh.
They were not driving. There's people not going. I personally am not going on Highway 59 through Primgar.
Nor am I.
Okay? I don't care.
Well, right now, that's the only way to get there.
Highway 18.
18's getting fixed now. Next year, 59's finally getting fixed.
We're going to
We're getting there, but it took forever.
I'm just saying that these are all, this is all one big package we gotta look at. I wanna see our roads get taken care of, and I'm extremely interested in making sure that we've got a lot bigger equipment going across these gravel roads and stuff out there. You know, I'm not real sure we don't have roads that we can eliminate, truthfully. And I know that's not a popular thing to say, but
It's hard to do.
I know.
It's not boxing it either.
It's very hard to do, to eliminate roads. You have to, it's a long process.
I'm just saying that we need to look beyond that, because I think if we don't, we're going to end up with about 50 farmers out here paying taxes for the roads that are left. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Did all your questions get answered, Jim?
Mine.
No, I know Nancy, I'm asking if yours were all done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good questions, Jim.
I don't.
Yeah.
Speak up then. Okay, I'm on the newly formed O'Brien County Cemetery Preservation Association.
Yeah.
What do you all think? Is there funding for that, or what's your feelings on that?
Well, you're getting funding for that.
Okay, and how much are we getting, and
I believe the first
What's your
check
interest
was to get you going. I mean, we're on $3,800. Was that the first check?
We haven't gotten any of that.
She cut a check for this set of claims for this month.
Okay.
Has been cut to the, I can't remember I cannot remember the figure.
Okay.
But it was really a startup, and we as a board wholeheartedly support the Pioneer Fund, Cemetery Fund, whatever it's called. I mean, preservation. And we've discussed that at several board meetings. Absolutely, it's to me, vital that it gets done to preserve history, basically.
And it's a request every year. You'll request just like some of the other
Just
organizations
like
do.
some of the organizations do. You
It's
request.
per thousand, is that how it works?
Well, that would be if you levy, which you have that power to do. But then if you levy, it brings into account all the cemeteries, if I'm not mistaken, in the county. And then actually the Board of Supervisors becomes responsible for the county maintaining those. That was never the Pioneer Cemetery Board's intention, nor was it ours.
Okay.
So that idea got scrapped, but we will support in our yearly budget, because we're budgeted for fiscal year 19 now. Don't remember what that dollar amount is, I can't remember.
But come next January, or next budget time, you will have a set amount.
Okay.
Yeah, actually come July 1st, those fiscal year 19 funds are available to you.
Okay.
This was just startup to get you going before July 1st.
Okay.
So there was money for you guys to get going on this, and you've done a whale of a job of everybody on that board and involved with that. So, but as of July 1st, fiscal year 19's funding is available to you also. And that's in the budget. I don't remember what that amount is. Forgive me, but I don't remember. Anybody else?
Okay?
I've got to state, I live probably on gravel roads, probably more traffic, truck traffic, whatever, than any in the county. I can remember going with my dad, taking a team of horses in the dump plank to pay off his poll tax, was what these roads started in. As of now, we live on one of the most trafficked roads, and I'm talking truck traffic, right behind the city view. And our roads have never been in as good a shape as they are now. So you aren't responsible for all of that. It's come up to, but I know you got a bridge out there that's got to be replaced, and it's needed because a lot of those trucks go across that bridge. But no, it's the roads, and to me, schools and roads are the majority of your budget. And so I guess I don't like to knock anybody for the job they've done. I know you've been working it.
I have a question. Can you give any enlightenment? There's been a lot of discussion about the watershed and it hasn't been addressed. Can you give enlightenment? Can you educate us? Can you tell us what we're looking at?
Watershed.
Yeah.
District.
Osceola.
District 5.
District 5.
Oh, the drainage district?
Sorry.
I was just done talking. Does anybody else want to take care? I'll talk again, but
I'm just totally, I just know there's a lot of discussion and I have no idea, what's ahead for us and what needs to be. Can anybody enlighten me, help me?
I just want to go back to these and say that our roads around Archer are really good too.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah. That was my dad too, by the
can I
way.
say one thing first?
Yeah.
Just to let you know, as county supervisors, we are also trustees of the drainage districts in O'Brien County. I'm not a drainage expert by any means, but I am a trustee because I am a supervisor. Just to make everybody aware of that it's really two different positions.
Oh, okay. That's.
One goes hand in hand with the other, but
That's good to know.
that's how we set it up in O'Brien County. We
It's
did.
not that way in other counties?
You can have anybody be the trustees of the drainage
Do
districts.
you want to give it away?
I would wholeheartedly look into that.
I'd love to
Are you
have somebody else have that drainage district. It was when that started, it was because the water was not getting through a pipe and it was creating a big washout is what the whole complaint was. Okay.
This is one pipe and one,
Well, it was up on the northern edge of DD5. And so that was where it started it, okay? And so we went up there and it was decided then, we did a tour, there was some places in there that were really filled up with dirt. And there were some places that were not. So we had hired this engineer, Rick, can't remember his last name, Hopper, as the drainage district, as the engineer doing the project. They went in there, they cleaned it, and we took a bid on cleaning it. It was this young kid that basically really bid it pretty cheap. Maybe that wasn't the right thing, but it was what we had heard, that he did good jobs, and we heard good things from about this Rick as the engineer. Well, things went bad from there. They overdug it, dug it too deep in places and that stuff. Put the pipe in. Pipe is not really working like it should. Mark was in there the other day talking about it. One of the problems that we have now is they opened that up pretty hard and we're getting a lot of water, and now down below where it's dumping into the Waterman and down by Mark there, they're flooding. They're getting a lot more water. The problem we have is how far do we go?
right.
You know, with this. And now we're talking even north. He wants to possibly have, what is that, what's that drainage, 8? Is that what it is up there?
38, 12, it just goes on.
Yeah, it goes all the way up to Osceola County.
Is the engineer that you've hired, or who's he?
Rick, the engineer.
Rick Hopper is Jacobson Westergaard out of
Esterville. Or, yeah, okay.
No.
None of us are very happy about this whole thing.
I can imagine.
And we're very flustered with Rick. We're very upset. They're now on a penalty because they don't even have some of the spoil piles, pushed down. They were supposed to, we've been extending that date, but now we've just said that's it. You're on a penalty. It's not been a very, DD5 has been nothing but a sore and a nightmare. We shouldn't be having this problem that we have. We have some pipes, it's not, some of the tiles, they are not working correctly. Some of the field where the berm is, it's now running alongside the field. We had to fix a bridge that it was washing out. And now we're talking about the last board meeting. We basically said the engineer is responsible for fixing that. The engineers put in a bill for almost $6,000 to repair that bridge.
That would be the county engineer.
County engineer.
Thank you.
The county engineer put a bill, and we honestly think Rick should pay it.
Because it was engineered.
Yeah, we shouldn't charge it to the drainage district.
It's engineered wrong to begin with.
Well, he left the berm there, and he didn't leave any outlet, which should have been some outlets for the water instead of running all the way down for a mile and making another river. There's just was a lot of things done wrong. I'll be glad when this thing is done. So.
Is there end in sight to it then, do you think?
If the work gets done.
Yeah, if we get the berms knocked down, get the waterways and everything.
This week the work should have gotten completely done. I don't know where we sit right now.
I'm not for sure where we sit on it either.
Do you guys have legal ramifications to go back after him under the penalties?
Well, we're still holding
We're
the bond,
dealing with that.
and we're holding some money.
You are.
Does anybody want to hear from the other
Well, if
non-supervisors
Dennis or
about?
Dennis want to address it, I'm sure they.
I'd love to hear.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, at planting time, there was a problem up there. When it washed out, one of the farmers, access to his fields got washed out because of a tube that was put in below the other existing tube that was there. And I think the hole was 18 feet by 4 feet by 12 feet or something like that. Couldn't get his planter or tractor in there at planting time. The way I understand it is, we have a swamp north of us in Osceola County, and by lowering the drainage ditch, which they did,
We took on all of that.
We used to be friends.
we're draining Osceola County, which is probably, you know, in the day of draining the swamp, maybe, you know, some people think that's a good idea. The problem that I see in the potential is if you have more water running faster through the existing drainage ditch as it is now, look out for the watermen and all the bridges downstream. So, are we gonna be paying taxes to fix those things in the next 20 years? That's my concern. I don't have a solution for it, but that's my concern. That's why I have a lot of interest in the bonding company that bonded the contractor.
Can we go after Osceola County?
No.
Just asking.
No.
They do a thing called the outlet fees.
Yeah, outlet, well, they're talking about outlet.
That's, you charge certain people in Osceola because they feed into it, they call it outlet fees.
They'd be dumping into DD5, is what they're talking about.
I guess we dug one on our farm a few years ago, and, you know, after several years of healing and the neighbors' fields all washing out and you get a bunch of big rains, I would say 20% of that big ditch is filled back in already. You let tall grass grow in it. And I know it's not, I hate to see a stream fill back in right away or purposely stop the flow of water so it, being they dug it deep already, you know, just when I was driving by ours the other day looking at it, and I said, you know, you kind of get to what these people are going through up there too. And, you know, the slip-offs and all that stuff just stops water. And then, like last year, we had 70-mile-an-hour wind in the spring, and my neighbor's waterway blew level full of corn stalks, and it all came down through ours. And, you know, we just cleaned that out 3 years ago, and I would say in another 2-3 years, it's going to need to be cleaned out again. You know, I know Mark says it's too deep, but, you know, I hate to see the purposely stopping water just to fill it in, because it's going to get there. And, you know, there's a lot of acres up above this, and everybody says that, you know, they don't want this stuff drained because it doesn't do them any good because it's 3 miles away from their tile, but it's their dirt that's coming down and filling up DD5, you know, and this bottom end it's going to get filled up again. You know, everybody's farming faster, farming quicker. Seems like there's less and less, well, there's some no-till guys out there, but it seems like you're seeing less of them. And that's kind of my thought on it, I guess. But I hate that you don't want to plug it back up again, because eventually it'll be right back where it was.
That help?
Yeah, I know more about it than I did before. I'm sorry, it's a headache.
Mind if I say one more?
What a deal.
In a drainage district, we are the trustees. A drainage district, when repair is requested, which we did, repair, I believe it was called, then everybody who gets benefit in that drainage district from the repair gets levied for that cost. Assessed for that cost, excuse me, assessed for that cost. And it's split based on percentage of benefit they get from that project. You know, and that's engineered as far as who gets, I'm not the guy to do that, so we hire an engineer to do that. It gets done. Now we go below Drainage District 5, DD5, and there is no drainage district down there. Then it becomes the landowner's responsibility. Unfortunately, we're responsible for the drainage district. and what's in that drainage district. I don't like that that's what end result there is, but it's where the end result is.
So what is done higher, if it affects somebody lower, you can assess for the help, but you can't assess for the damage?
Because we have no power to do
Or recompensate
that.
for the damage?
No, because we are Drainage District 5 are responsible for that alone as trustees. It's like me going to as far as us hiring the engineer, I have a medical problem. I go to the doctor. He does surgery and something's a little wrong, it doesn't turn out right. Maybe I should have chosen a different doctor, you know. That's where, but it's the expertise of that person who we put our trust in, and so far it's pretty darn iffy if it's gonna pan out. So, Mark?
I got a question for any one of you board members to answer. Why did you annex more ditch and more into this drainage district? All you do is add distance to it and brought more water into it. If you wouldn't have annexed, they couldn't go on and continue cleaning, and it wouldn't be your responsibility.
I certainly can, but if you're holding the mic.
The only thing I could see is somebody started this drainage district to begin with. You know, it was your forefathers or somebody back in the 1920s or something like this. Something wasn't, there was a swamp there somewhere, and to get up over that ridge, somebody had to dig something out. And now everybody in the district is kind of suffering because of it, because the water's coming through and it's pretty hard to stop it.
If you go west of that drainage district there, you know, where the open ditch is at, and you go west there, that's what was basically, their tiles are dumping into DD. And that's where was how that was. Now, we're only going up, DD5 is only going up to the county line. Actually, that Y, there's a Y there that needs to be cleaned, and that didn't get, for some reason that didn't get cleaned. But the ones to the west of that are in that chart, which we don't have with us, but the further west they went, those are all tile fed coming down.
So then I saw a picture of a bridge that looked pretty nasty in the publications this last week.
Well, that was that one that the
That you
engineer,
talked
the county engineers fixed down by the road.
And it's taken care of.
That has been taken care of.
And we've then given that bill to.
That bill has went to the engineer.
I don't think you've answered my question.
I'm gonna try, okay? The reason we annexed further up in the drainage district is because we had a set amount of cost for this cleanout. That set amount of cost with the drainage district 5, the size it was, per acre was a very, very large amount. Annexing further up, which was gaining good from this cleanout, they were getting benefit from it further up. It spread the cost out to way more acres, cut the cost per acre considerably. That's therefore why we annexed, because they were getting benefit all the way up to the next drainage district. That's the reason.
And even to the west we went.
And even to the west, and so
on. That's why it happened.
And now he wants to clean them all out too and add more money to it.
If requested, we gotta look into it.
He's talked
But if you
about.
wouldn't have annexed, you wouldn't have had to do that. You'd been done.
Some of those were already in DD5. Small section
Not
to
what
the
you
west.
annexed, it was not.
Most of what we annexed was not. There was a very small portion that might have been. I gotta remember the map on the lower creek, but.
Sorry to bring that.
No.
That
It's painful.
No.
It's painful.
No, you don't want nothing to do with it. You may yet. You may yet.
You better listen up.
I already drained the swamp.
You already drained the swamp? You already
Okay.
drained the swamp. Okay, other questions?
I'll just say something real quick. Okay, so Miss Rachel, thanks for coming. I actually was in a jury pool that you didn't pick me for.
Is that good or bad?
For me, It's before I die, I just want to be on a jury. Anyway, so I saw you there, so I appreciate you coming, and Susan and Missy, you too, because again, I'm the mayor of Sutherland, just moved here a couple years ago, and so now I can put my faces and my names and know. And I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I never attend those meetings, but I'll get there sooner or later. So I just wanted to say on my behalf as a citizen, I appreciate it. Thank you for doing this in honor of Dan. I participated in the city council and mayor one last year that Dan shut me up on. So I'm sorry, he's a huge loss, huge. And so you did good. You filled some big shoes. Thank you. Thanks for all coming.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, again, I apologize, I'm up for an 8 o'clock end, I'm sorry. Have a great